do. Hey, can you sing a song to pump the price, please? How are we doing, everyone? Great to see you. Just putting the tweets out and then we'll be going. How are we all doing? Great to see James and Nick in the chat so far. Thank you for joining. As you always do anyway, you legends, but great to see you as usual. Let me just go on that. Right. And then just pop it into the Discord and then we're ready to rock. We'll be ready to rock. Rightio, rightio, rightio. How are we all? Great to see you. Thank you for joining. Let me get my screen up. Yeah, it's a funny old day, isn't it? It's a funny old day when we're looking at the charts. We are basically in and around the same point that we was on Monday. Obviously, we had a nice little bounce, and then we had another deep dive down. So not really much has changed on the outlook of the market so far compared to Monday's stream. We haven't had that much movement. But what we have had is a couple of interesting points involving, obviously, that push down that we got yesterday and then the bounce back up. But, you know, wherever we go from here. Steve-O, how are we doing? Hey, big boy, howdy, howdy. Howdy to you, legend. How are we? How are we doing, Steve-O? Great to see you, my friend. Great to see you. Let me just pop that down a little bit. There we go. Yeah, so grand scheme of things, we're basically in and around the same area that we was on Monday's stream, aren't we? So in terms of where the price action currently is, there's been not much change. What we did get yesterday was a full sweep of that 2025 low. So let me just turn Stonksy off for a second so you can see. So what we did get yesterday was a full liquidity, a full cleanse and a full liquidity swipe of them two wicks, that were left hanging back in 2025. Obviously, when we put the low in and then we had another equal low come in, didn't sweep it and then bounced. Yesterday's candle ran right through that. We did come down all the way just below $73,000. And then we pushed back to the upside. So we've had a full sweep of 2025 liquidity. That's done. We've got no more underlying liquidity from 2025 in terms of sweeping the wicks. Naturally, of course, there will be liquidity lower. But looking at the price action, looking at the candles, we have cleared the 2025 low for now anyway. And yeah, obviously the next move now will be quite interesting because we could either that be it, we sweep the low and then go up, or maybe we're in for another 20% drop down towards the 200 weekly moving average. So do let me know what you think in the chat. Do you think that's it? Or do you think we've potentially got a little bit more to come? Do let me know your thoughts. But what I thought we will do is we will go through the CSE newsletter because I put a lot of my thoughts in the newsletter today already. So we may as well use that. We'll utilize obviously what I wrote in there and put in there to then take over, and have a look at the rest of the market. Hello, Wiz. How are we doing, mate? Great to see you. Wiz, you fly out today? Is it today you fly out? Or tomorrow? But anyway, Bitcoin's do or die moment. Bitcoin is on the cusp of either forming a bottom or seeing a final leg down in what could be a golden opportunity. So this is obviously what I've just been talking about, is that we have swept last year's low. If I just zoom in on that. So we've swept last year's low. That's been cleared. Liquidity taken from below that wick. And that actually did put us at minus 42%. So we've dropped 42%. So what's important to note on that, it's biggest pullback since the run began. So since obviously coming back up from 16k at the start of 2023, that is Bitcoin's biggest pullback to date. We've had a couple of -30s along the way, haven't we? Think back to 2024, 72k down towards just sub 50, around 30%, 31, 32%. The same for last year's pullback, obviously on the Trump tariff fears, around 30%. We had another 30% one as well. I think that was in mid 2023, I think. So we've had a couple of 30s, but we've not had one this big so far. So -42% is a big pullback bear market. Yes, well, technically, Nick, I'll pull up a tweet on this that actually went out on TMG's page yesterday regarding bear markets. There he is. Let me find it. Went up last night. This one. So Bitcoin is technically in a bear market. Why? Because a bear market is actually classed as a drawdown of over 20% in any asset from its recent high. So this is typically more, driven towards TradFi. And again, this is a very loose term that you can apply because silver pulled back 40% last week. Gold pulled back 20%. Would you say that they're in bear markets? So it's a very loose term. But obviously, when we're applying it to Bitcoin, what we expect is massive drops. If we wouldn't have ever said 2024 was a bear market or last year was a bear market because of the extreme bear markets that we've had. If you think back to 2018, 2022, strong, heavy bear markets, not bear markets that we typically associate with Bitcoin. We normally associate with like a year of hell, don't we? Where you can actually, attach a bear market to smaller periods of time. So you could actually potentially say last year, the Trump tariff fears, that was a small bear market. We pulled back over 20%, didn't we? But it's a very loose term. And obviously people judge it differently. But typically in crypto, we associate a bear market with just, complete destruction, don't we? Like Bitcoin -50% plus, altcoins -80, 90, maybe even sometimes more percent. We associate it as just complete and utter destruction of price, when really, it can be associated to anything just over a 20% drop. But yeah, so that's the biggest pullback that we've had so far. And then what you're saying, Nick, bear market, what will be really interesting to see is if and when we put in a bottom, the reaction from there. Because what we know, and I'll pull it up on the chart now, what happened in 2022 was obviously a lot of excitement here at this point, wasn't it? A lot of excitement at this point. Now, what you could do is you could go on the chart like this, and you could say, you could really actually draw some parallels, couldn't you? You could say that this was potentially this. First leg down, small bounce. First leg down, small bounce. Second leg down, and then a dead cat bounce. Second leg down, maybe from here, or maybe from here. Dead cat bounce up to wherever. And then, of course, continuation down towards capitulation, anger, fear, all that stuff. But you can definitely see a similar structure forming from 2022, potentially, if you are looking at a bear market and you're obviously looking at the same structures. More so me, I'm not really too bothered in, attaching things. I'm just more interested to see where price will go. And I do think, obviously, if we break down from these current levels, we are probably heading towards 60k or so, 200 weekly moving average, back into weekly demand, all that good stuff. But it's just a case of, do we maybe get a bounce from here first, maybe in towards an SR rejection there, and then continuation down for one more leg? Is this the bottom and we simply just don't do that and we just go up anyway? Or do we just melt down in one fast nothing move again? It's not going to look exactly the same as this, but yeah, you can definitely draw parallels if you are looking for a typical Bitcoin bear market. But yeah, obviously Sailor's entry has been tagged. Sailor has gone below entry into the red. Currently, at the moment, I think we're around break even, actually just below break even on Sailor. But we are in demand. You know, we are in demand. This is where the price found demand last year. This is where selling pressure stopped and buying pressure took over. So this is a point where we've seen Bitcoin put in a low before. Is it out of the question it does it again? No. It's just a case of, obviously, we want to see actuality rather than just theory. So that's looking at that. And then you've got the weekly MAs. This is something, obviously, that we've covered on stream. I think I covered this on Monday on stream. But very simple. You know, what you can utilize now is just 100 and 200 weekly moving average. They can literally be just 2 pivot points on a chart where you could, define your bullish or bearish stance. You reclaim the 100 weekly moving average, then that's significant, and then that shows strength again on Bitcoin. That would be above 87.5K for a weekly close. Remember, a weekly close, not just a pop-up on one day. You want the week to actually recapture it. And then, of course, you're looking for that to then be defended on any potential retests. If we pop back above, say, for instance, we get a weekly close when, within the next month or so, above, say, 90K, then obviously what you're looking at is for 87.5K or wherever the 100 weekly moving average comes to along that time. You're looking at that to then be support, and obviously that be your line in the sand for them being bullish. Because then you can easily flip to, obviously, acknowledging weakness again in the price if it drops back below. But then, of course, to the downside, you've got the 200 weekly moving average, which I actually, if bombs drop to Iran and lower prices for Bitcoin, I think probably. But if anything, that would probably just be a catalyst to just get, the worst over with, wouldn't it? You'd then be saying, right, well, this is the catalyst just to do it fast rather than slow selling for months at a time. That may just be a catalyst to go, right, just rip the Band-Aid off, get it over with fast, and then we can find a bottom. So, yeah, but I'm also kind of at a point in thinking of, is the 200 weekly moving average having too much heat on it and becoming too much of now a hot spotlight on the market? I think probably there is potential to maybe bounce within this area instead and kind of leave these bids in this demand area and obviously 200 weekly moving average area unfilled, and maybe potentially use this block here as a bottom and then leave them people unfilled, because naturally you need people chasing a move to make it stronger, which then obviously would leave people being forced to buy back higher than getting the bids filled down here. What would that look like on the chart? It would look like something like this, kind of in and around this zone potentially. But let's just get rid of that and let's mark it out more clearly on here. So probably, looking at anywhere in and around there, which I think, potentially could be a front run. Maybe we front run the 200 weekly moving average press, and obviously that prime entry have come down towards 60K, maybe sub 60 towards 55 as, the real prime entry, and then leave people chasing the move. So pull back into here. People get really excited and anticipate, right, just, give one more push down to fill their bids, in and around there. And then instead what it does is levels off and then starts to go. People start to get itchy feet, start chasing the move. And then, of course, that's then when you start to get some real strength. So I do think that's one option. And I think it's worth probably having outlined on your chart just to see how price interacts in and around there for a potential front run, and obviously leave people with bids unfilled. But yeah, in essence, 200 weekly moving average, 100 weekly moving average. Whenever we get a test of either one, that'll obviously be telling. CME gap, we know, covered CME gap on Monday, but the CME gap's still open. Big CME gap. Probably the biggest CME gap we've had in a long time. Initially, when it opened with probably about 6-7K difference, didn't it, between opening and closing? So massive CME gap. Obviously, it's filled a tiny portion of it. You can see, it opened here. then filled up towards 79k, but then still got all this area to fill. So CME gap, again, you know, another thing to potentially have on your radar. The CME gap fill price 84.5k, and then, you know, looking to obviously see what happens from there. Solana. Oh, we got Lee Shaw in. How we doing, mate? Oi, just popped in to say hi. Just about to walk into work, so we'll catch up on the video tonight. Yes, mate. Thank you very much. Great to see you, Lee. Have a good day, mate. Have a good one, and I'll catch you soon. Moving over to Solana. Now, Solana, you could basically replace this with any altcoin, couldn't you? I think you could definitely replace it with Ethereum. You could probably replace it with a lot of other altcoins, in the fact that they are maybe coming in towards a point of immediate demand, and obviously where you'd want price to settle. In Solana's case, that'll probably be in around $85 to $90. Driving a GLR Defender this afternoon. Ooh, nice, mate. Very nice. Enjoy. That's nice. That's nice. But yeah, we're probably looking in and around $85 to $90 as, you know, the line in the sand for coming back in towards, you know, them 2024 lows, where price found demand in and around here, and looking for that, you know, to form a bottom. We still haven't taken, not the time of when I put this together this morning anyway, the 2025 low. So on Solana, that's still active, and as you can see, it's only a few dollars lower, probably towards like 93, 92-ish. So that's still open, and you've got, you know, the uber bearish scenario, which, you know, would be a drop towards 60 on the chart. Obviously, that would be the next point if you lose kind of that $85 region, drop towards 60, and then from there you are within golden opportunity, aren't you? Again, you know, it's not financial advice, nothing's certain. We can't speak in certainties, but on the chart, that is the next line in the sand. And can you really see Solana going sub $60? I think we'd have to have a complete and utter price collapse, wouldn't we? But certainly if Bitcoin does another minus 20% towards that 200 weekly moving average, then you could definitely price in a minus 40% drop on Solana from here. And then, wowee, what an opportunity that is. Kev McGee, how are we doing, Kev? Great to see you, mate. Great to see you. But then you've also got the bullish scenario. You know, you've also got the bullish scenario in what if Bitcoin bottoms here? You know, what if Bitcoin just bottoms here and that's it? There is no drop to 70. There is no drop to 68K, 69K. There is no drop to the 200 weekly moving average. You've also got that scenario, which obviously on Solana, a recapture of that weekly SR here. You know, you can see it all along 2024, 2025, start of 2026. This region here, you know, just above $120, give or take. You know, you could take $120 as your level. You could take a zone like I've drawn out. You could take $125, whatever. But recapturing, obviously, that point of where Solana was finding consistent demand is what's important. TMG said $70 for Sol, around £50. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that, you know, you could definitely. That's a little bit higher than where I've got it drawn out on this one. Basically, I think obviously he's took this little block here, but you know, the closer you get down to the, you know, it doesn't really matter, does it? You know, say for instance, if Solana gets to $70, I don't think many people probably going to be bothered by a potential another 10% drop, given the fact that they're buying Solana 80% down of what it was, are you? So I don't think too many people would be bothered about that. And about, you know, the idea that, oh, Solana's at $70, oh, it might go down to 60. Really, at that point, you're not really, you've got strong risk reward, haven't you? Yes, it may go down another 5%. It may go down another 10%. But you're buying something that's down 80% at that point, in my opinion. Anyway, it's just my opinion how I look at things. I'd rather get on the train and be aboard the train rather than waiting for the perfect stop and trying to, you know, get the cheapest ticket. To give you an analogy, rather than trying to get the cheapest ticket possible, I'd rather just get on the train and get to where I want to go. Which, if Solana comes down to $70, fast forward another 3, 4, 5 months from then, will it really matter too much if you buy it 70 or you buy it 65 or you buy it 60? Not really, apart from, you know, slight little bit more of P&L. The grand, you know, the whole thing is you want to then ride that train back to the upside, don't you? And you don't want to be not on board it. So that's kind of, yeah, that's what I'll be looking out. Lower the better, buy. Yeah, and you know, that's probably the outlook for a lot of people. And it's short-term pain. You know, another minus 40% on Solana here would be painful, wouldn't it? Because then that indicates, obviously, the market getting crushed. Dave, my woo-woo guy, said to put buy orders in near $25 for Sol. Cough, cough. Really? What is your woo-woo guy basing that on, Steve-O? Is he basing that on Bitcoin, like a certain Bitcoin price as well? Or like Solana-driven weakness? Because what you could actually do on Solana is you could view that as basically a 2-year distribution, couldn't you? If you actually go and have a look at the Solana one. And remember, guys, this isn't obviously like just being completely soul bearish. Probably the point for being bearish is almost over because we've had most of the move, isn't it? So really, you know, for instance, if you're eyeing Bitcoin at 60k again, you know, you've missed most of the move. Flash. Wow. Yeah, you know, you've missed most of the move, haven't you? You know, we're already 40% down. So there's no point getting bearish here. If you have missed most of the move down, whether you know, you've not been shorting or simply, you know, you've still got your spot bags and you've been holding, what you really want to do is not get caught up in the bearishness and more so start to tailor your mind to where can I get value and where can I buy? That's the thing. You know, discussing low prices, and it's not about suddenly flipping uber bearish and being like, all right, we have to see more down or whatever. You know, we've missed it, haven't we? We're minus 40% on Bitcoin. We're minus anywhere from 50 to 80% on altcoins. So a lot of the time to be bearish is almost over, probably. You know, there's no point getting bearish here, is there, when, you know, Bitcoin maybe faces minus 20% drawdown, but we've already seen 42. So mostly what you want to kind of maybe tailor your mind to is, right, where can I look for value and where can I look to take advantage of this bearish price action rather than just becoming an angry, you know, frustrated bear. You want to say, right, where can I put this to use? Where can I put this weakness in the market to use? And obviously you can do that by looking for buy opportunities. And then when it obviously comes to that time, if they come to then you're not caught up in the bearish mentality. You're caught up in the, right, my plan's happening, let's go with it. And hopefully then, you know, you get a good opportunity to make some money. Wiz says, my first buy zone on Sol is $10.43. I like how you say first. Your first buy zone. I mean, what you could do, let me just get rid of that. You know, what you could definitely potentially do is view, is this just one massive distribution range on Sol? You know, it's not out of the question, is it? Is that not just one massive potential distribution range on Sol for the big VCs and the big unlocks? Potentially, you know, it's not out of the question, is it? And if that's the case, then Steve probably gets his dream, which Steve is eyeing $25. So yeah, but so basically a retest of that, and it's a retest of that SR, which we didn't get. So basically there, you can see that SR so clean as well. Look at that. So support 2022, support all August, September, October 22, drop below, resistance in January, resistance in February, resistance in April, resistance in July, resistance in October, then reclaim in October, and then bang, go. See Wizard knows. Also another angle for it, Dave. Look at Sol market cap chart. Yeah. I find that easier to trade than the USD chart, yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know, obviously Solana's market cap has basically doubled since last cycle. Obviously, since we hit these highs in 2021, when we come up to these highs in 2024, 2025, Solana's market cap has doubled because of obviously the emissions. So a lot more tokens out in circulation, hence the increase in market cap. But yeah, I mean, anywhere around $30 on Sol would be unbelievable, wouldn't it? I mean, what an opportunity that would be. But you can see that SR so cleanly. I mean, even look, it even goes back to early 2021 as well. No, it even goes back to early 2021. I mean, look at that in 2020. Wow. So yeah, I mean, but is that one massive distribution range? Who knows? What alts are you loading up on, Dave? Nothing here, I'll be honest. Nothing at the moment, anyway. Nothing. I'm in two minds. It's like we said on Monday, Wiz, when you was on the stream. I just refuse to believe it's so early that you just buy the Sailor entry and then that's your Bitcoin bottom, give or take a K or two. You know, I just can't get on board with the fact that the market will give such an obvious and easy entry, and also not, take the opportunity to provide max fear and panic, which would be Sailor fastly going down to say minus 20% P&L. I just can't get my head around yet, until I start to see signs of strength on the chart anyway. I just can't get my head around the fact that the market will give just such an obvious bottom. Like, that would probably be the most obvious bottom that we've maybe even ever seen on Bitcoin. Just flush it all the way down to Sailor's entry, drop it a bit below, and then give that as the bottom, and then rush it all back up. I just can't get on board with that train yet, until maybe it does actually show signs of a bottom and we start to see strength. But in my mind, I'm just like, it's the perfect cocktail to create fear and panic if you drop it down another 15-20% from here. But yeah, I mean, we'll see, won't we? We'll see. Anyone else think like that though? Does anyone else think like that? I just cannot get on. I just can't get on board with the idea that Sailor's entry would be the bottom and be the buying opportunity. Yes, we've gone a bit below, but again, in the grand scheme of things, another 2-3K below it doesn't really matter. In and around the area of Sailor's entry, I can't get on board with it yet. Anyway, Hype is a beast. Hype has been insane. Where is Hype? Yeah, Hype has been utterly insane. I tell you what, I was annoyed the other day though, Wiz, because obviously I think when you was on stream last time, on this first run up, we were looking at this as the supply area, weren't we? And I never shorted it. And then of course we dropped off from that supply area. And then it did level off quite well, and then that run was insane. But I mean, just that whole initial run, I mean, yeah, just unbelievable. But yeah, I think Hype's perfectly positioned in it. Like, I think Hype is perfectly positioned to be kind of the coin, like the coin for the next, whenever the next strong Bitcoin run is, to kind of have, when Solana was on that run in late 2023 going into 2024, when Solana, just everyone was obsessed with Solana. I think Hype's probably got that kind of feel about it. I think Lit is also bottoming, mate. You love Lit, don't you? You love it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. I do. I'm also. I mean, I'm interested in looking at memes as well. But really, you have to time this, don't you? You have to time memes with the Bitcoin bottom. Like, you just, you don't want to get caught up in buying trash that can quickly go down. But I think probably, you're looking at Pengu there. If you retest these these 2025 lows, I would be very interested. And again, that would probably be, again, all line up perfectly with a potential another drop on Bitcoin. You look at SPX. I mean, that doesn't actually have any more price data, does it? That actually doesn't have any more price data. I'm not interested in this at all. Like, nothing interests me in this at all. This has its time in the sun, and I'm just like, I'm not on board with kind of the SPX cult that there is going on. I'm not on board with it. I would much rather look at Pengu or Fartcoin. Fartcoin moves really well in the market. I think Fartcoin, again, it's another one where you think, how low could it go? But then the lower the better, because potentially the more the bounce, the better entry. But I mean, Fartcoin, how low could this go? Maybe there. And again, this is all speaking, in the scenario that we do get more down on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin bottoms from in and around here, then, any buy in and around from now obviously will look like a good buy if Bitcoin bottoms, because obviously then Bitcoin goes up, drags the market up, good times for altcoins, etc., all that jazz. But you know, if I'm looking for potential value and stuff like that, then obviously, you know, the more down the better. Pump, same thing. You know, maybe back in towards here, maybe. You just have to be prepared, don't you? Just have to be prepared. Sailor is in crucial. There's Epong. Crucial what? He's in crucial what? A crucial zone. Yeah, I mean he's underwater at the moment, isn't he? It's funny because we can actually live watch Sailor being underwater or over or in profit now, can't we? Like we can actually live watch it. Like if you go to the hourly chart, we can we've dropped below Sailor's entry in the past hourly candle, so now Sailor is in the red. Like you can actually just live watch. Is Sailor in a profit or not? He was this morning, now he's not now. BPN. Oh, here he is, the legend. Does anyone listen to 6ix9ine? No, don't, mate. No. I never have. No. BPN, what are you thinking, mate? Come on, give us the juice. BPN, give us the juice. What are you thinking next? What's your thoughts? There doesn't seem to be any strength so far, does there? There doesn't seem to be any strength whatsoever so far. But give us the juice, BPN. I just did. So you thinking 69k? Do you thinking 69k? I mean, yeah. To be fair, that lines up with what I was saying before BPN, which was no, it wasn't. What chart was we on? This bit, yeah. Sorry, this bit of this being potentially the front run for the 200 weekly moving average. So obviously, now obviously we've lost 100. This market is crazy, Dave. Yeah. And now that we've lost 100 weekly moving average, and just in general, the price is collapsing. I think obviously suddenly everyone's now interested in the 200 weekly moving average, aren't they? Which comes, basically like in towards. Let's drag that down a bit. In towards, weekly demand from 2024. But again, is that too obvious? I'm thinking maybe you come into this block here, maybe, just maybe, and kind of front run the people waiting for this now and leave their bids unfilled and leave them chasing. That's one potential scenario, I think. But you are right, mate. The market is crazy. And yeah, we are we're in a really difficult time. It's particularly trading wise. It's not easy to trade this unless you've just been shorting. Unless you've been identifying the weakness and obviously the points of extremity for any bounces. It's not an easy market to trade, particularly obviously if you've been trying to long from kind of start of November onwards, or really start of October onwards, isn't it? If you've been trying to long, you've basically been having to get in and out fast. It has been a shorter's market for the past 4 months. If Bitcoin drops below 70k, bear market confirmed. No, because I think at that point we probably start to then look for a bottom, don't we? And this is probably where the psychological aspect of it comes into play, because unless you've already been bearish and you've been bearish on the way down, then what is the point in getting bearish here when we're already minus 42%? We're already minus 42%. So say, we drop below 70k, and that takes us, probably that takes us down another 5% or so. What's the point in getting bearish here? Because Bitcoin may just have another 10% to the downside, or it may have another 20, 22%ish towards that 200 weekly moving average. You could get a very good idea that will even if it's not the bottom and we go lower, the 200 weekly moving average and this area on Bitcoin, this demand from 2024 should in theory create a good area for a strong bounce. Whether that leads into a dead cat bounce or a consolidatory bounce, then you got that then. But I mean, we're already minus 42% down. So what I was just talking about before was what you probably want to tailor your mind to is the point of where you want to buy. You know, where do you want to buy? You know, instead of getting uber bearish, again, you know, we're already far down. Altcoins already retraced 50 to 80%, haven't we? Now, what you can do is obviously just have them all prepped, like I've got on my chart. You know, just have the levels prepped on your chart. Now, these are from a while ago, so I haven't really updated these in a while. You can see some of them have actually, you know, some of them have played quite well into the Bitcoin price action. I can't remember when we plotted these lines on stream. I remember doing it, but I can't remember. But you know, particularly some of them have played quite well. I thought I had a chart of all of it lined out, to be honest. I thought I had a chart of all of it lined out, but it doesn't seem like I do. BPN saying 27k. Oh, imagine that. Particularly with obviously the altcoin weakness just persisting as well over the past kind of like year, 13, 14, 15 months, whatever. 27k would actually kill things, wouldn't it? Like, can you imagine how low Solana, ETH would go in that instance? But you do definitely have, you know, you've got levels down there, haven't you? You know, you've got particularly my favorite one has always been this area. So I would actually probably raise you a little bit there, to be honest, BPN. I would probably think that weekly SR holds, so probably 30k. 16k would be my deep target. You're funny. And the thing is, I know you're not messing as well. I know you're not messing. You just go on and you just mark out, don't you? You just mark out simple levels. Like, you can literally do this with the naked eye. Like, there are some, you know, levels of interest, obviously, on the way up and on the way down. Yeah, I'm serious. It's not out of the question. I mean, it's not out of the question, is it? It would all, and the thing is, all we'd be doing is running the 4-year cycle. You know, there's minus 75%. Boom, there's your Bitcoin bottom. Done. I don't think we go down to 16k. I mean, 88% will be wild. 85% will be wild. I think we'd have to have something serious to catalyze that. Well, what a gift that would be, 16k. Can you imagine? And do you know what the thing as well is? You just know that everyone that's been here the past couple of years, a strong majority of them wouldn't buy there. People would just freeze. Literally, people would just freeze and not know what to do. Everyone would just be like, "Oh my god, it's over." That would be honestly the biggest gift ever. Like, even if we got 30k, like 30k would be an insane gift. Like, yes, you may go down more. And this is what I was speaking about before, is on Solana, you know, when we were looking at kind of like $70 or $60. Obviously, depending on how low Bitcoin goes, then obviously shifts into you know where altcoins go. I've been hoping for a great reset. Well, one of the scary things for Bitcoin is that this thing hasn't even started to retrace yet. I think probably this right here is what you want to pay attention to, because this provides some potential real danger for Bitcoin, because this thing hasn't even begun a potential retrace. If you're talking about, obviously, you know, how low can Bitcoin go, or, you know, where do we go from here, or, you know, where is the bottom, and then, you know, then how high do we go after that? The S&P 500 is down 1.3% from its high. This hasn't even begun to retrace. You know, if we look at obviously what happened last year, it did minus 21% during that tariff frenzy, which obviously Bitcoin dropped 32 or 33%. Bitcoin's already down 42, and this thing hasn't even budged. We saw what happened yesterday as well. If you was paying attention to the price action yesterday, the S&P is obviously what nuked Bitcoin yesterday, because we're just attached to it. Like, we're not attached to its bullishness for the time being anyway. We haven't been attached to its bullishness since we made that high in October, but we are certainly correlated to the downside. But this thing hasn't even begun its price action. A retrace. which is the biggest concern for Bitcoin, because it doesn't matter what you say or what you do. The fact is, if this thing starts to retrace even 5%, 10%, 15%, Bitcoin is going with it, whether you like it or not. Doesn't matter how many levels on the chart you draw. Doesn't matter how much theory you put behind anything. If this thing starts to really roll over and starts to have a deep pullback, Bitcoin is going with it, no matter how far down we've already gone. And I'm kind of speaking there in certainty. It's obviously not financial advice. It's just speaking from obviously past experience in the fact that as much as we want Bitcoin to be its own entity and to be decorrelated and do its own thing, if you are getting the S&P rollover and you're getting stock market weakness, Bitcoin's bullish time is obviously on the back burner until that until that steadies. But I think that this is definitely one thing that is, really concerning for Bitcoin at the moment, is the fact that this thing just hasn't even started to roll over yet. And it's really pinning on the fact that it does. Now, obviously, how low this goes could obviously then determine what levels you're looking at on Bitcoin as well. Because if this thing gets a serious rollover, then again, you're looking at you're looking at a really hard time for us. Where is MSTR now? The MSTR is down to 129. The more I look at this, I mean, this is my first area of interest, 110, basically, kind of like 110-ish. I'll be honest, I don't even know. I have to see where Bitcoin is in time. That'll be minus 80% at 108, minus 80%. Yeah, it's wild. I mean, this wouldn't be out of the question either, would it? Vote time, yes. I forgot vote time. I mean, yeah, the MSTR chart is crazy. Let me put the poll up anyway. There you go, poll's up. Go vote on the poll. Let me know. I want to do a different poll as well. Once we're done on, I'll leave this poll open for 15 minutes. If you do want to vote on the poll, vote on the poll. But I want to get your guys' thoughts on a poll, on obviously kind of, what you guys are thinking. But definitely, this thing is cooked already, innit? I mean, this thing is down 75% already. So, God knows what will happen to this if Bitcoin rolls over another 20% or even goes over more than that. Yeah, but I mean, Bitcoin looking like it's rolling over even more a bit now, is it? Yeah, so Bitcoin's accelerating to the downside. But honestly, you really want to keep an eye out on the S&P, because that is going to be a key marker for obviously us looking for a Bitcoin bottom. Because I mean, look at it already. Let's go and see what's happening on this. It's just so cold. Look at this. So this is obviously what we got on Bitcoin yesterday. So this is what drove Bitcoin to the downside. It's exactly the same. Just completely exactly the same. Yeah, we want to keep an eye out on this for sure. Another thing that you want to keep an eye out on is obviously the early ETF price action, because obviously if Bitcoin ever went sub ETF issue, when the ETFs are issued, then no ETF buyers are in profit then. So obviously the ETFs got issued at 45k, something like that on the first day, then went down to 40k. So sub 40k that no ETF buyers are in profit, which will be wild considering obviously how much has flowed into them. But you've also got that contagion risk as well. Anyway, I'm going to go make a coffee, so I'll be back in a minute. I'll leave you with the Bitcoin chart. VPN, anyone else? Get your thoughts in. I want to know, obviously, your thoughts in the chat, and then we'll run a poll, and I want you guys to vote on, obviously, where you think Bitcoin is ultimately going to bottom. Yeah, I'm just going to go and get a quick coffee, so I'll be back in a minute. Don't go anywhere. Drop a like, and I'll see you in a few minutes. Right, I'm back. I am back. Let's see what's the poll on. 14 votes, 50%. So, bit of indecision. But I want to do another poll for you legends. So, let's do... Let's do this one for now. Right, we'll do that one for now. If you are in the mind that Bitcoin goes below 50k, vote on the 50k one, and if that wins, then I will do another one for lower prices. So let me know in the chat what you think, whether Bitcoin bottoms here, 65 to 70k, 60k, or 50k. If you do think that Bitcoin goes below 50k, vote on the 50k one, and then I'll put lower prices on another one. But yeah, do let me know what you guys think. But yeah, we're getting a little tiny low time frame bounce on Bitcoin going into the open now. Let me get rid of that. Yeah, on the newsletter, obviously, Wiz puts together. I don't know if Wiz, are you still here? Wiz, are you still in the chat? I don't know if Wiz is still here or not. Maybe he's not here anymore. But Wiz also puts a really good section on each newsletter as well. And this week he has done Hyperliquid. So yeah, if you're not subscribed to the CSC newsletter, you can subscribe on the CSC website. But yeah, this is Wiz's section on the newsletter. So this week he's chosen Hyperliquid. And he said, in a week where prices have been in decline and chaos has prevailed in traditional finance, one crypto name has stood out above the rest, Hype. The native token for L1 DEX, Hyperliquid, has been an immense performer, soaring 87% from its lows. The long from 2140 was glorious. And then the secondary scalp from 2750 last week, for those in the Discord, was a great move. The token respected our levels and cooled off for the following run. I have some targets lined up for this with zones at $31, $28. I don't think this narrative is dead and expect this to be a strong performer and potentially one of the best performers on their own. And then, of course, you can trade Hype on BLOFIN, WEEX, and Prime XBT. Clicking them links. All them links are in the description as well, by the way. Well, that was put together by Wiz. And Wiz is still in the chat. So he says, first buy zone for me is $12,537. I think that obviously, while that obviously seems impossible, it's actually not impossible, because if we get a complete and utter unwind over in TradFi, and obviously we get a lot of narrative around the US economic uncertainty and weakness, and especially if the Chinese get the way and start to really sway countries to choose the yuan over the dollar. Honestly, the political, not the political landscape, the economic landscape could really be shook, and we could see the biggest crash of our lives. Peter Schiff obviously was talking about now. Peter Schiff is obviously a big meme for his Bitcoin stance. His view on Bitcoin is just completely stupid in it, considering the guy has been saying it's a failure from when it was a couple dollars and just missed out on the craziest buying opportunity ever in the history of mankind. He is actually a good economist and actually knows what he's talking about when it comes to obviously everything else. He just doesn't obviously understand Bitcoin, but he understands gold perfectly well. He understands metals perfectly well. But what he does understand is obviously the economic landscape in terms of how just economics work. So the guy isn't an idiot. He's just an idiot around Bitcoin. And obviously he's been coming out and saying that basically he thinks that an upcoming crash is coming, and it'll make 2008. And it is in his words, he used a Sunday school picnic. So basically he thinks probably the biggest crash of our lifetime, you know, what the Great Depression was for people 100 years ago. He thinks that basically that is coming for us. Which again, will it be true or not? Who knows? I assume probably a lot of macro doomers have been calling, you know, for economic collapse all the way up. But yeah, it would certainly be interesting, and it would create the most insane buying opportunities. I mean, when you look at obviously the buying opportunities from, say, the dot-com bubble, 2008, obviously if you go back further than that, I think everyone, unless you was old enough to obviously be around for them, everyone wishes that they was around and as an investor, because then, you know, you buy and you literally just hold on for dear life. You hodl for the next 5 to 10 years and just keep adding and adding and adding as much as you can. If that happens, then it would be insane for us. It would be the greatest single opportunity. And yes, you know, it would be short-term pain. It would be absolutely horrendous for anyone obviously still holding a lot of spot. But what it would provide is the greatest buying opportunity that we'll probably ever get from now onwards in our lifetime. And then in, you know, 5 to 10 years time, everyone will be wishing that they bought on a collapse like that. So it's really about shifting your mindset. It'd be obviously really hard to take for a lot of people. They've bought some calls for $40 on ENPH. I'll have a look, mate, now. But yeah, I mean, it would be an insane chance. Look at pre-market. I'll have a look now, mate. Let's see. Phase Energy. Oh, look at it, pre-market, yeah. Oh, look at that. Up 26% pre-market. Jesus, look at that. That is insane, isn't it? Look at that. What a move. Yeah, it's crazy. Is this from yesterday? Yeah. So that's from the earnings. Yeah. Wow, look at that. That is wild. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Obviously lit is what Wiz was talking about before in lighter. But yeah, I think, you know, just generally, market's in a very interesting place. Very interesting place for sure. Yeah, does anyone want me to look at anything specific? Has anyone got any altcoins or any assets particularly that they want me to look at? I mean, let's see what gold and silver doing. They've bounced quite well, haven't they? They've bounced quite well. So if you did buy the fear on Friday, no, so it's kind of around Friday levels in it. But I mean, on silver, yeah. I mean, look at that. Bought silver anywhere in the 70s, you know, even towards $80, a little bit above. You're around anywhere between 10 and 20% up, aren't you? Silver, I mean, that correction is crazy. If you think about what's happened to Bitcoin over the past 4 months since early October, silver did that in 2 days, didn't it? Like, that's crazy. It's crazy. Bitcoin's pulled back 42%. And it seems like obviously just complete destruction. And silver did that in 2 days. It was wild, innit? The unwind on silver was crazy. Like, actually crazy. Absolutely crazy. But we do have 15 minutes to go until US Open. Right, there's 23 people watching. Please do make sure, firstly, you drop a like. Now, vote in on the poll, because I'm going to try and close this poll soon. There's 9 votes on the poll, so there's plenty of you watching that haven't voted. Now, if you do obviously think that you've got 3 options there for in and around the levels that we're at. If you do think that we're going below 50k, there's obviously no option on there. So vote for 50k in the meantime, and if 50k wins, I'll then put another poll up for levels below 50k. So, you know, if you think that we bottom here, vote here. If you think 65 to 70k, vote that. If you think 60k, vote that. But if you think that we're going 50k or below, then choose that option for now, and then I'll put another one up with lower prices than that. But obviously, you've got a good selection there for now. And at the moment, it's between here and 50k. That is winning. It'd be interesting to see, obviously, what you guys that have voted 50k actually think. I know, obviously, a lot of you have said in the chat the drop wiped out the equivalent of the entire Bitcoin market cap, mate. I think it did it not wipe out like the whole of the crypto market cap. No, it did. It wiped out. I think silver. I think on that drop, silver lost like $2 trillion or something, or maybe more. 2.5 trillion. I mean, if you look at total is 2.5 trillion. So I think it basically wiped out the whole of the crypto market in 2 days, which is crazy. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, and obviously probably wiped out like 1.5 times Bitcoin's market cap too. Yeah, the silver drop on Friday was crazy. We'll probably never see anything like that ever again. So if you was watching it and obviously you was around for it, you probably just, you obviously watched history probably on Thursday and Friday, because yeah, we'll probably never see anything like that on silver again. I don't think, anyway. It's probably like a once in a lifetime thing. The last time obviously gold and silver dropped as much as they did was back in the 1980s. So maybe not quite a lifetime. There's probably still people that are alive that maybe remember that. But particularly once in, a multi-decade thing. So yeah, pretty wild. Where was you on the day that? Oh, where was you on the week that silver dropped 41% in 2 days? Crazy. There's still quite a few of you that haven't voted on the poll. Please do vote. I'm really interested to know that third Dogecoin. Yeah, I'll cover Dogecoin next, of course. Anything for you. But I really want to kind of know where them people that have voted 50k have in their mind. I know obviously we've got BPN saying 27 or 16k. We're saying 12.5k. Those people that have voted 50k, which I think probably is around about 4 or 5 people. Let me know what targets you're looking at. Obviously, BPN and Wiz, we know your guys is. Other people, please let me know. But yeah, let's have a look at Dogecoin anyway. Let's have a look at Dogecoin. So I think something like Doge, better off looking at the weekly. So again, really simple. We had this range and we lost it. It was simple range trading for like 2 months, wasn't it? On a lot of things. Now Doge itself has obviously came into demand. Where we found demand in 2024 before before that crazy run that we got on everything, pretty much. Wouldn't you love to go back to that time? I think that was such a sick time, and it only lasted like a month and a half, didn't it? Well, that was such a brilliant time in the market. Like, it was so good. And you just look at it on the chart, don't you, like that? And you just think, God, what would you do for price action like that now? Just 4, 5, 6 weeks of just non-stop up only. What would you do for that now? Anyway, yeah, Dogecoin, simple, must-hold level here. And then I think from there, it gets really easy because there's not actually a lot. There's actually not there's not a lot that you can really look at. So you then obviously visit. If you break down here, now you can actually pull up something else as well, but particularly that 5 to 6 cent range, then obviously becomes your high time frame vital support. I mean, if you look at that, obviously Doge held that for the best part of 2 years. That becomes your vital support. But then you could definitely consider this area here as well. Anywhere in and around here. I won't put another zone because it'll probably make the chart look a bit stupid. But particularly anything in and around 7 cents up to, oh, fuck it, you know what, we'll just do another zone because you want to capture the price action. Probably just anything in and around, kind of like that. So they'd be 2 areas for what I'd be looking at, and you can't really go much more in depth, can you? Until that crazy. You can't really go much more down than that until we get there, and then obviously you have to start looking at other levels, because really, I mean, there's nothing really there at all, is there? You've got liquidation wick potentially get tagged. You've got liquidation wick potentially get tagged, and then you really are in trouble. I mean, surely it wouldn't go back to that. I don't think it would go back to that. You'd probably just be looking at kind of like a market timed bottom rather than a bottom on Dogecoin, because of obviously how it behaved and the fact it just went from like fractions of a cent and just sent like insane amounts so fast. You'd probably be looking at a market time bottom, and obviously a bottom forced upon Doge, rather than it being a technical bottom. Obviously, if these failed, I mean, if these in the aspect that they failed, then that's probably what you'd be looking at, is like Bitcoin putting in a bottom for the market and then Doge just bottoming wherever it comes in then. Because I mean, yeah, like there's just nothing there. I mean, if you go and look at this on the daily chart, that's probably like 1 or 2 days of price action, just like bang, done. And then suddenly, you're looking at a cent, which would obviously just be, it would be crazy. You can't see it, can you? But yeah, so that's what I'd be looking at on Doge anyway. Just they would be my levels, obviously here to hold, and then obviously potential bounce from here. And if this fails, down towards 8 cents. If that fails, down towards 6. And if that fails, a potential last hurrah at sweeping the 2022 low in some sort of liquidation wick potentially. And then after that, I really have nothing for you. So yeah, but the good news is you've got a lot to go since then, haven't you? You've got a lot to go until then. And the good thing about Doge is you've got you've got minus 25, you've got minus 40 to 45, and then last hurrah will be minus 50 odd. Now the good thing about Doge is it doesn't really trade as a meme coin anymore. So Doge, in my opinion anyway, is basically just a large cap now. So if you're looking at traditional meme coins, say with Fartcoin, Pengu, whatever else, they could move minus 25, minus 40, minus 50 pretty easily, couldn't they? It wouldn't really take much of a knock on Bitcoin for them to do that. With Doge trading definitely as a large cap, it obviously doesn't see them wild swings as much anymore. So it's more tied into how large caps trade, how your large caps, and then obviously anything in and around that aspect with Sol, ETH, all them ones towards kind of the top 10 in and around that. It trades more along them, more correlated to the market, and obviously doesn't lose anywhere near as much as your typical meme coin would. So yeah, that's what I'd be looking at on Dogecoin. If here fails at the moment, we are technically in demand, technically. So yeah, that's where we are. And then obviously if that breaks to the downside, where I'd be looking, if this holds, then to the upside. And again, this all depends on the shitty thing is that it all just depends on Bitcoin, doesn't it? Like, we're just relying on Bitcoin to go up. Like, Dogecoin isn't going to go from here to this. Like, look at that weekly SR there. You've got weekly, then obviously all these weeks. That's your weekly SR there for where you need to reclaim to then go higher from that. But Doge just isn't going to go here on its own, is it? It's not just going to go up to, just because it's in demand now, it's not going to go up to 15 cents on its own. It needs that drive from Bitcoin, as do all other altcoins, to drive the market higher. So that's the thing is, you can look at all altcoins till the cows come home, can't you? But really what you try and want to identify and pick out is a Bitcoin bottom to then give you the green light. I mean, look at the start of the year. Bitcoin got like a 6, 7, 8% pump. And you had meme coins doing 100%. You had Solana and ETH doing like, I don't know what they did off the top of my head, but like, 15, 20%. Like, it doesn't take much for Bitcoin to unleash things like in a proper way. I mean, if you have a look at Dogecoin, what it did that week. you know, on that weekly. So that week was opened on the 29th. So let's just take that for argument's sake. But you know, Dogecoin did, you know, 20 up towards a high of 25% during them first kind of like 6 days, 7 days, whatever it was that we got a run on Bitcoin. So first week, 2 weeks, whatever. It doesn't take much to unleash a strong rally across the board. It's just obviously getting that Bitcoin bottom and that Bitcoin shifting momentum up. But I mean, look at Sol, $94. Crazy. It's crazy, isn't it? But we are going to get US Open anyway in 4 minutes. So let's go and Dave was doing handstands on that pump. What, the start of the year pump, mate? I want to go back to the 2024 pump. Oh, that 2024 pump. I want to go back to that one. That was an insane time in the market, weren't it? Like, that was an insane time in the market. Also, Dave, one of my NL zones for SMIC worked again. SMCI. Yeah, we looked at that on Monday, didn't we, mate? Yeah. The Wiz doing Wiz things. Plus 10.5% pre-market. Insane. The Wiz doing Wiz things. Do make sure you drop a like on the channel. And also, I'm going to cover something important next as well. Do make sure you hop over to the... Obviously, you're already on the Stonksy YouTube. So firstly, please do make sure you go and watch my video from yesterday. It's up here. Covered quite a few things. I really like this thumbnail as well. I don't know about everyone else, but I thought Trump looked hilarious in that top. It makes him look so funny, doesn't it? Like, look at his big smiling orange face in wearing a Bitcoin t-shirt like that. So please do, if you haven't watched my video, go watch my video. Please do try and make your way through it as well. I ask some thoughts of you at the end. If you can't watch the full video, you know, obviously people's time is precious. If you can't watch the full video, please do try and watch half of it, or, you know, 4 or 5 minutes or so. I would appreciate your thoughts in the comment section as well. You know, give me your thoughts on some of the topics in the video in the comment section. But also, please do and go and head over to the Crypto Saving Expert channel, where Wiz is posting daily videos. So obviously, he put one out yesterday. He put one out the day before. Puts them out, obviously, all through the week, every week. So do make sure you go and check his out. He put one up yesterday, but like I said, he's putting them up every day. And you can obviously go back on some of these. You know, you can go back and watch them, no matter what the time is. So, for instance, with his copper one, you know, that's still relevant now. You know, you can still go and watch that. Copper will be the best trade of 2026. You can still go and watch that now. You know, it's still relevant. So do go check out with his videos, but particularly, obviously, go watch his one from yesterday, and just subscribe to the CSE one. You know, subscribe to the CSE YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so you get alerts when he posts his video. Obviously, you will just see it go out in the Discord or anywhere else, you know, that you see any CSE interaction. So, you know, go ahead and, you know, go and watch his videos as well. He's posting them every day. So yeah, go and check them out. But yeah, please do support us. We really appreciate it, and yeah, it'd be good to get obviously your thoughts in the comment sections as well. So yeah, I would massively appreciate it if you could. Thank you very much. We got Rejman saying, "Yo, what's up? What's up, Rejman? What's going on, man? What's going on? Oh, I've missed US Open. Ding, 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 ding. I still haven't got my bell. I'm going to try and get the bell today. I need to remember to go pick the bell up. Ding, 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 ding. We are open for US market as of just over 30 seconds ago, so I missed it while I was blubbering on. But yeah. Are we going to get much movement on Bitcoin today? Who knows? Oh, at the moment, looks like we're heading to the downside. Let's see. Yeah, are we gonna get full torpedo nuke from the US market? Wiz, what's your overall thoughts on the S&P? The S&P looks like it may be preparing to roll over. It looks kind of out of steam, doesn't it? Like, volatility has dried up on it over recent weeks. Can't seem to get above that 7K barrier. What do you think on the S&P? Do you think it looks like it's out of steam? I mean, look at that S&P nuke, bang, Bitcoin nuke. What do you think on the S&P? I think when you look at the weekly chart on the S&P, it's really scary. More interested in emerging markets. Yeah. I mean, my first instinct when I look at it is it's preparing to nuke. It's probably just waiting for something to light the match to nuke. Is what I think about it when I look at it. Like, if you look at the S&P on the weekly, it's just like volatility has dried up on it mostly, and it just keeps banging its head there. We've had this insane run for what is almost a year, and I just think that it looks like it's just getting ready to roll over. Like, we haven't had a pullback on it in a year, so I don't know. I think probably. I mean, we don't know, do we? I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. We could blast above 7K and start heading for another leg higher. Who knows? But my first instinct when I look at it is that this thing is getting ready to full on just turbo nuke and have like a proper pullback finally. But I suppose we'll see. I could well and truly be wrong and not correct on that. But yeah. Looks like maybe it's just waiting for kind of a match to light to light the fire. Something to obviously ignite. It's not moved for, obviously going back here, we got some big volatilities downside in it, but basically once it got up to this point here, it's not moved. It's not moved really for 2 months. Sold EMPH course for 670% profit. Oh mate, mega. I mean, the printer just recently got turned on, so let's see. Yeah, but I mean, look what's happened with the printer being turned off. Look what's happened with the printer being turned off. It's been one of the most bullish times in stock market history, with the printer being turned off. So with it being turned on, does it really mean? Will it really mean that much? I don't know. I mean, we've had one of the most bullish times in stock market history, haven't we? I mean, look at the things that have performed. Like, look how quick and fast a lot of things have gone up over the past 2 years. It's been insane. How much more can it milk to the upside? Potentially a lot more. Who knows? Potentially a lot more. I don't know. I'm just looking at the chart rather than external factors. Just looking at the chart rather than external factors, it just looks like it's slowed down and momentum is kind of just rolling over a bit. I could be wrong, but yeah, I tend to just focus on the chart personally. Like, I just focus on the chart. What's the chart telling me, rather than anything else. Like, if we break above, you can see obviously white line is the clear line to break in it. We break above the white line, bang, we're on. We're on for upside expansion. Bring 7.2, 7.4, 7.6, 7.8, 8 potentially. Until then, it's banging its head on the ceiling. So, white line is literally just, that's when you eradicate obviously any potential pullback in it. When you start going above resistance. So we'll soon see, no doubt. No doubt we'll soon see. Yeah, Wiz doing Wiz things yet again. Wiz doing Wiz things yet again. Let's see what Bitcoin's done on open. It's back below 85K. Let's see. Yes, that was quite a drop, wasn't it? On open. Gonna get maybe a U-turn, who knows? XRP is an interesting one. XRP is an interesting one because, let's pull it up on the weekly. Zoom out. We have started to finally come and fill this in, haven't we? Talked about it, can't remember when. I mean, look at that. That is a disgusting weekly candle that it had at the start of the year, isn't it? But, it's finally, it's look at that look at that range, potential distribution. Like, it's now obviously like completely lost all forms of support, and is now obviously within this void of price action. This is just a complete void. So you come down, and maybe we do a I mean, ideally, obviously, you'd want to take the recent ones, the most recent. Maybe do an SR test of there. But I do look at it and you think, could you maybe squeeze a bounce from there potentially? I don't know. Anyway, we'll soon see, won't we? But I mean, it's just in a complete void of price action. Like, literally, like, look how thin that move was. It's literally just 3 weekly candles done. It's already nearly chewed through the last one here. Like, there's just nothing there. Obviously, this wick is of interest, but yeah, really, I mean, it could get very nasty for XRP pretty quickly. Bitcoin's absorbing the drop on open. So Bitcoin's absorbing the drop. There we go. Nice bounce on Bitcoin. Retracing that initial drop. I mean, what do we want to see on Bitcoin here? What would we want to see in terms of, the next couple of days, week of price action? I think the first and foremost one is a run up towards here and clear these highs. I think looking at that was strategically made to leave that liquidity behind for a run at some point. So, I mean, them highs just don't look safe at all, do they? Like, you've just got, look at that. That is just an abundance of liquidity left above there. So that, to me, looks like definitely an area of interest and a potential move of interest in popping above there and then maybe coming back down. But certainly as well, you've got the run up towards SR here, filling in this move and coming in, test at SR, around 85k, which would fill the CME gap as well. So you got the CME gap to pay attention to too. Got this big wide CME gap open, which would simultaneously fill as Bitcoin came up and slammed its head against resistance at the same time. So definitely that is an area of interest as well, if Bitcoin can get some sort of move on to the upside. But certainly looking upwards, this area here looks prime for liquidity taking. I mean, look at even the move down. The move down was just lower high, lower high, lower high. And even on these, like, just nothing was swept to the upside. It also left this high behind. So that is definitely, a big area of interest. So that's something I'm paying attention to and waiting for. If we can, kind of get it move on and get up to there, that'll be a good area for liquidity watching. See if we can pop above, pop back down, and then there's your liquidity sweep. There's your risk reward for a short done. On the other hand, if we get above there and start staying above there, you could treat it as a little, potential SR flip if you wanted to. Low time frame gives you, good reason to look for risk reward in the market, and obviously a place to potentially look for a position and put your stop. Because you get above there, we sweep that, but if it comes down and starts holding there and doesn't start dropping below, then there's your potential SR flip of that low time frame price action, and then start to head towards. And obviously if it gets below there, no good. And you can definitely adjust your risk to that. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Well, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the stream. Do make sure you drop a big like on it. Again, do make sure you go and watch my video from yesterday. Make sure you go and watch Wiz's video from yesterday. Let us know your thoughts in the comments as well about any topics discussed or just the overall videos. And yeah, thank you for watching. I'll be back streaming on Friday. I will have a video out on the channel tomorrow as well. So do watch out for another video from me coming out tomorrow dinner time. And yeah, hope you're all having a great week. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Take it easy. I'll see you on Friday and we'll see where the market's at there. See you later. Bye for now.